Well, hello, friends, and welcome back to the 24th episode in conversations with my colleague and mentor and friend, Tom Schnitzius. We have, as you know, explored a range of very deep and very meaningful and impactful concepts regarding our inner journey, regarding working from the heart, expanding our inner awareness and growth and consciousness. And today we're going to deal with a topic that I'm very eager to listen to and maybe engage in with a little bit, but um, very dear to my current focus, and that is pure intent. What does it mean to be intentional, to have a clearly defined purpose? Know what it is, resonate with it, and pursue it. So, Tomei,
Hey,
I'm very eager to hear what you have to say, and in fact, I'll be taking notes. So, thank you, and welcome back yet again.
yeah, thank you. Thanks everybody for listening. So there is kind of a difference between intent and pure intent. I think we've talked also before about um, duality per se, that there is um, an ego dualism, and yet there's a pure dualism as well. And so when we start walking on our path more authentically, which means we're walking more in our hearts, the opportunity to assist others and to assist ourselves in various different ways. So we can use kind of the healing principle, for instance. And healing doesn't necessarily mean physical healing totally, but it also encompasses the three levels of the body: the mental, the physical, and the emotional. And if we're recognizing that in any one of those bodies we might have an imbalance, let's just call it, going on. And usually, what that means in our authentic journey is that there's a feeling that it's imbalanced. There isn't necessarily a definition brought to it. So, intent is not defined in pure intent. Pure intent is a feeling. When we use intent from a dualistic point of view, or even from the ego, there is an intention of, say, doing something or getting something or causing something or um, providing yourself with something or finishing a project or there are very many aspects of a intent of the mind. So the intent of the mind is a doing per se, and a doing can lead you astray because it can get you so um, overwhelmed and embraced into a mind driven intent that you lose the aspect of the experience of what is happening as opposed to just doing what the intent is, say, having you do in those moments. A pure intent versus that is more of a feeling, it's more of an experiential opportunity. And so, for us to reach into that experiential opportunity, we have to be one with consciousness. To be one with consciousness means your heart must be open. The heart must be open first, and then the heart uses the mind to allow the pure intent to be felt fully in all three bodies and then be transmuted into consciousness, into the infinite possibilities that are there, the feeling of that, which then infinite possibilities, the universe source, if you will, your beings, your gods, have a understanding with your free will, what it is you wish to feel, what you wish to create from the feeling understanding within your heart. So it's quite different than an ego-driven intention versus a heart-driven, pure intention. By saying pure, it's kind of the best word we might be able to come up with here, is to say energetically, there is no judgment in the intention. There is no attachment to an outcome of the intention. So there is no way it has to look. You're not attached to how it's supposed to be, because that's mind driven. You are open to all possibility, even though within your free will opportunity, you've given yourself a chance to bring into your heart space the feeling that you wish to create in the pure intention you're asking to put together. So, there, as you can probably see from this might be a little difficult to recognize, but realizing there is quite a difference between a mind driven intention and a pure intent. Pure intent has no judgment. A mind driven intention can create for sure a sense of lack or a sense of I'm not good enough because this didn't happen for me. Pure intent has no judgment. The feeling of what it is you wish to create might not exactly happen in the moments that you wish, per se. They might not even happen for years, because to have the pure intent be created, the universe has to go about its business creating synchronicities, opportunities for you to choose that will create the depth of the feeling that you were um, asking infinite possibility to to create as well as you are. So I guess the other thing that just came to me as I was just saying that was that it's a very participatory type of journey within your heart. When you are in your mind, it's like you are in control. You're not expecting any help from anywhere else. You believe that you have the steps, the aspects, everything in line to create what you wish to create. So your intention could possibly happen in a certain time frame or not, but when it doesn't happen, then there's a judgment that's placed on it. With pure intent, there is never a judgment if it is pure, because anything that comes from you from this pure intent through consciousness, since your heart is open, you accept. So there's acceptance that takes place instead of judgment. There is also the opportunity for humility to take place, because once you accept it, you open your heart up fully to be with what is there. And so there's also patience with pure intent, where usually with an intention from the mind, there is no patience per se, because you've already labeled how soon and how fast and how many steps you're taking, and it must have the outcome once the steps are all been taken. So there really isn't any patience per se with it, at least not patience of a master. There might be some patience, because if you make a mistake in the intention that you're trying to create, then you come back and you start again. And so there might be some patience in allowing yourself the opportunity to try it once again. But that patience is very fleeting. The acceptance is very fleeting. There's more judgment involved. So once again, in a pure intent type scenario, there is no judgment because it's from the heart. And when there is just an intent from the mind, it does create a sense of judgment. Even the sense of fear, I might say that, if I don't do this correctly, it's not going to happen. So you're scared that the outcome won't happen because you're not quite sure if you're good enough to make sure that you follow the directions that have been put together. And when you don't, you feel less than because you're not good enough to put it together. So there's a judgment that it doesn't work. There's a judgment that it doesn't work because of you, per se. There's all kinds of judgments that can be involved in the situation. So, in looking at channeling, where some of you might not understand it yet, and you also might not trust it just yet, I'm sure some of you that are listening to these understand that there's others out there that channel various beings, energies. Um, Through them, they allow themselves to be conduits of the energies, and those energies come through and speak to us with wisdom and knowledge and opportunities for our journey and so on. To be able to be a conduit of that, which everybody can be, one must be able to trust themselves. One must be able to trust that it actually is happening. One must be able to trust that the energies that are coming through would only come through to serve and not to harm. Because we do hear all about, um, say, dark energies coming in and causing people's all kinds of pains and sufferings and so on. I might suggest to you that the only pain and suffering that's happening is the one that your ego wishes you to believe. And so there are no dark energies outside of us that can harm us when we are coming from our heart. The only dark energies that are there are the ones that we create in our own minds. So I did a channel not too long ago when I was traveling by John the Beloved in Patmos, in the island of Patmos, where he wrote um, the Apocalypse and
Revelations.
Revelations, which they call the Apocalypse too,
Yeah.
um, and ended up having a direct connection with him when I was in the cave. And the feelings of it were very similar, obviously, to channeling. And one of the gifts that he shared with me was that it took him a long time to trust the downloads that he was getting. That it took him a while to recognize that they were pure and they were not of his mind. So the reason I bring this up is because you might say that many Christians in this world who know of John the Beloved and know of his writings would say that he was, say, special, or that he had these gifts and so on. And I'm here to tell you that it took him a long time to accept those gifts. It took him a long time to understand within his heart the intent, because his mind would get involved and confuse him on the intent. Instead of it being a pure intent, it was more mind driven. So it took him a long time to finally be able to settle into what was happening. And he used pure intent. He used his authentic self, his higher S self, to be able to be connected in such a way that the words would just flow. There was no hesitation in his words. He would have somebody write these things down for him because they were happening so quickly, he didn't have time to break away from it and then write it down. So he had a scribe do it for him. And so the scribe would just continue to write down everything that he was experiencing in the moment. If he felt for a moment that his mind would get in the way of the intent and change the direction of what was going on, he would stop immediately and then take a moment to breathe, to clear things out, and then possibly come back. But he also said to me that he wasn't able to do it all the time. His mind would be a little stronger than what his heart was doing at the moment, and so he would allow that to take its course. It's a great lesson for any one of us that's on our journey to understand that we are living in a very heavy dualistic state of energy, and we are not perfect, and will not be perfect in this journey here on this planet. And because of that, we must be honest with ourselves and look ourselves in the mirror and understand when we kind of fall off that journey of pure intent. We can understand that by a lot of different traits, I would call them, or qualities that a master holds and does his best or her best to allow them to come through in as many situations and as moments and many moments as possible. It's not always easy to do that because some of the challenges and triggers that we receive from the outside world can cause us to really take a step back and be in confusion ourselves. And so sometimes it takes time to bring some of these qualities and some of these traits in. I already told you a few of them already, which one was acceptance. And acceptance is a feeling of knowing that's what's in front of you is there to help you master yourself. That you see it as complete total acceptance in all three bodies that you have. You accept what is in front of you with no judgment because you know it's there to serve you. And this would include any kind of situation to trigger that could be disastrous or joyful at the same time. It's all the same. And somebody might say, well, there's a total difference between joy and disastrous. And I would say, yeah, in the energy there is, but not in what you would learn from it. When you are presented with anything, there is always a learning for what's in front of you if you open yourself up to acceptance. Just by saying this, I'm sure many of you are like, wow, that's a huge step. And it's a very difficult thing to do all the time. And I would not disagree with you. It totally is. Yet, in this trait that a master has, it allows the master to grow deeper and deeper into his heart because he then is fully engaged in what's in front of him or her, as opposed to only accepting those things that are at a higher frequency. That's not how this works. To master yourself, you must work in all densities, all frequencies, all waves, all vibrations. That's how you master yourself. So acceptance is a huge piece. We've talked about awareness before in many, many different discussions. So without question, awareness of what is around you, that you're conscious of, and consciousness that's happening for you is huge. It's the number one trait that will carry you through the rest of the qualities. So I really don't believe I have to go into that awareness piece very much. But you also know, per se, when you are aware and when you're not. If you can't remember what's happened in the last 5 minutes, not because you're getting older like me and you forget things very easily, um, if it's because you were too focused on what you were doing to recognize what was happening in the experiences that you were having, then it's time to take a breath and free yourself from that so you can be in the experience of awareness of what's going on. Part of acceptance is faith. Faith is another a great trait of a master. To know with faith that the universe has your back, to know that it is always there for you, even in the darkest of moments, to know that in any given moment you can heal yourself, that you can shift and change what has been shown in front of you in a way that will allow you to go deeper into it. We've talked before about spiritual alchemy. To be able to be a spiritual alchemist, you must have faith in your heart that it's possible, that you can change the energetic values of what is in front of you to either go deeper into it or to assist somebody to not harm another. Faith is a wonderful trait and a huge quality to help us to walk through the journey that we have taken on, especially during these times. Faith that all is perfect just the way it is. no matter what you see, no matter what you're experiencing. And then through acceptance and faith, to start recognizing what choices you have to assist, to go deeper into it, to assist if your heart is asking you to change something, to provide an alchemy of some kind. And you do that with grace. That's another trait of a master. A master recognizes that grace is always available. It is an energetic vibrational value of consciousness that you can tap into if you're in your heart space. You cannot tap into it if you're in your head, if you're in your mind. Can't happen. I guarantee you it's impossible. But any one of us has had moments on our journey where we know that what's in front of us could not have happened unless there was an intervention of some kind. That intervention happens because within you there was an asking for an opening of some kind because you were lost, because you couldn't see clearly, because maybe you've had enough and you can't deal with something anymore. And so it's almost as if you fall on your knees and you open up and say, please assist me in some way to see clearly through this. And the feeling that overcomes you when something comes to you in that regards, there's a feeling of energy or vibration like a wave that comes to you. And that's the universe's consciousness's way, source's way of sending you grace, a vibration or a wave to assist you in that moment. When you feel this, then you start wondering for yourself, is there more of this? And I would say to you, there's always more. It's infinite. Only when you feel it the next time, it's going to feel differently because the situation you're in is different. The grace that is sent to you in whatever capacity that might be is perfect for the situation at hand and will change and fluctuate based upon the situations that show up. Those situations that show up are created by you. They're created by you so you can have the wisdom of walking through it. So one of the next traits is wisdom. Wisdom to a master, the trait of wisdom, is the ability to walk through a knowledge, a knowing of something, and bring it into your journey. So what you do is you create an energetic value for yourself as to how you walk through that. You feel it, you notice it. It's almost like you place it within your body, your energetic body, knowing that the next challenge that might come is going to produce more wisdom for you in how to walk through these situations. How does wisdom help you in your journey to serve others? By allowing yourself to feel and notice that you gain the courage to walk through this, and the wisdom that came from it can assist others to help them, encourage them to continue their journey to walk through it by giving them an example of what you might have gone through. This can only be done when you meet people where they're at. You are not to sit on a pedestal somewhere expounding on all the things that have happened for you. That's arrogance. When you do it from your heart, it's done in a very humble way. It's done when you're asked to share it, not by just going out and telling people what you have done. As Yeshua said so rightly, don't let your right hand know what your left hand is doing. Basically, it's don't let anybody know what you have done, because the Father in heaven already knows, and that's all that matters. So wisdom is gained by walking through many of these triggers, many of these challenges that come along the way, by walking through them and feeling how you walk through them, and what energies and what vibrations and frequencies have been gained when you did walk through them. What did you let go in those situations? What emotions were you giving away in situations? What emotions did you find to walk through the situations? These are all unique to each individual, which creates a master of yourself, which is different than another master somewhere else. When we do this, we begin to understand the divine truth that we hold within our hearts. It's another quality of a master, divine truth. There is no question in the divine truth of what is in front of you. The ego will come in and try and define it for you, create stories around it for you, make you think it's something other than what it is. Because if you deepen it into yourself, into a divinity of truth, then the ego cannot exist, because there isn't anything past that. The truth is the truth. Others that try and change your understanding of that, per se, are using their ego to keep you at bay because they don't want you to find your divine truth. Because if you do, they're fearful of the fact that you might see them clearly and judge them for who they are. And so they will try and hold you back. And it's up to a master to find compassion for those people, which is another trait and another quality. Compassion for another destroys judgment. When you are truly authentic, compassionate for another human being who you see making choices and causing harm and judging you in ways, you understand why they are doing it, because they are lost. The reason why you can see that they're lost is because you recognize that you were lost once as well. And it took you a long time to come to the place where you've let go of the judgments of what's internally inside of you and what you have learned. But you can see it in another as they come after you, trying to judge you, to keep you down, to even judge you and say, you can't channel, that's crazy. Who do you think you are? And it's up to you to recognize that they are judging you because they are scared and they are fearful. And compassion will do that to destroy the judgment that could be at bay because your ego wants to get involved. From compassion comes forgiveness. Another quality of a master is forgiveness. Forgiveness in today's world is way overused. Just as saying I love you is way overused. Both in today's world are used in definition. You're told by the church, or you're told by your modality, or you're told by somebody else that you must forgive them because they're asking for it. I would say to you in this moment that forgiveness isn't about allowing somebody else to ask for forgiveness, because what they want you to do is take them off the hook. They want you to forgive them so they don't have to forgive themselves. So they don't have to face what it is and what the feeling is of the harm that they have caused. You can forgive a situation or another person because of the compassion you have for them, because you're not judging them anymore. You recognize that they only chose to do what they did because they didn't know any other way. But you don't forgive the action. You forgive their complacency. You forgive their confusion, but you don't forgive their ego. And so that might be somewhat confusing because it's different than what the modalities teach you, what you're programmed to believe. But the truth of forgiveness, the strength of forgiveness, is when we can forgive ourselves and to review for ourselves the harm we have caused others and truly feel that harm. That might even bring you to emotional tears because you can't believe in this moment that you actually chose to do that in those moments. But as you're in that emotion of those moments, you are now releasing what had happened, what had taken place. That is true forgiveness that we give ourselves. And in the eyes of the universe and the beings around you, they know whether you're being authentic about it or not. Once again, the ego can have you believe that all you have to do is kneel down next to your bed tonight and start reviewing all those things and say, I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry about that. That's not authentic. Authentic is living through, once again, what had happened and what your part was in it, what you created in it. So it is not necessary to call the people that were involved in that to say to them, I'm sorry for what I have done. It's enough to let source know, to let consciousness know, to let your guides know that you are authentically sorry within your own heart. And that erases, believe it or not, all the harm that was created, even for the people that are holding on to it. I would suggest to you that somewhere in the world, somebody is feeling freer than they have before because somebody that harmed them has now taken that harm away and placed it within themselves and expanded it and let it go so it doesn't exist in the world any longer. That is true forgiveness. Because of that, then we can have a trait called mercy. We can be merciful, the feeling of mercy, to understand that everybody's doing the best they can based upon what it is they've come to know. And of course, there's many people who are very ignorant in this world as to the truth of who they really can be. But we can have mercy for those souls because they are truly lost in where they are going at this point. And we can have an open door available to anyone to walk through when they are truly authentically ready to be with themselves in forgiveness and understanding and openness to now start a new journey. The door that we keep open is the door of mercy. And that door is always open for a master. Mercy is what you might call pure forgiveness. In that mercy and many of the other traits I've just shared with you, humility becomes a very, very strong quality of a master. Through all these things, you begin to learn how to live simply. You are now releasing your attachments to having things in your life. From having things in your life to experiencing things in your life is a gigantic shift into seeing how beautiful everything might be as opposed to wanting to keep it and experiencing it for what it is. Humility is a way of living simply without attaching yourself to anything and just being with whatever is. Allowing patience to take place in those moments. We've talked about patience already. All these qualities and traits that we've talked about lead to serving. First, you must serve yourself with pure intent through consciousness and with consciousness, because Pure intent is consciousness, you might say. We find a sense of being able to serve. We see within ourselves the ability to share what we have learned, what we have gained in our hearts. Not from a perspective of knowing everything compared to somebody else by any means, but just a real humility of sharing with others to show there is another way and to find their way through these qualities and these traits. And so there's a sense of selflessness that starts taking place. Not selfish, but selfless, which means we're letting go of the old self, the small s self, the ego self, and gaining our true self, gaining the opportunity to see the wide range of abilities that we have and gifts that we have to be able to share with others. We find a sense of charity, which is another trait, a sense of selfless devotion to others, to situations, to understandings. It is not a giving away of oneself. We learn that through ego. That to be accepted in this world, you must give yourself away to the world. If you're looking for acceptance, you must do what they tell you to do. And you must do a very good job at it, otherwise you will not be accepted. This is not what we're talking about. We're talking about being one with somebody, meeting them where they're at, and seeing the truth of how I can best serve this individual in this moment, whether it's through words, a hug, holding their hand, being one with, giving them abundance of money, clothes, food, whatever it might be that will serve them in that moment. We find a sense of charity that is a feeling of being with what's in front of us to best serve what's in front of us, not to change who they are, but to let them experience a different journey, a different way in that moment. And then it's up to them to choose whether they wish to. And we do not judge them because of the charity if they do or don't. We just show them a different way if they ask, if the need is there, if the opportunity presents itself. And through that, we find joy and abundance. For when we become a conduit of this kind of energy from the universe, there's an infinite supply of gratitude, of joy, and of abundance, because we are not holding on to that. We are easily sharing it through our hearts in whichever way source, universe, compassion, consciousness allows us to feel and to see and to share in those moments. We don't put a has to be on any of it, of course, because it is just pure. And we are a conduit to allow it to come through us so others can feel it. If we were to have to use it in a certain way and choose for ourselves how it must look, we have just cut off that flow of beauty and abundance and joy and gratitude that is coming to us to expound, to embrace, and to share with others as we are in it. Pure intent is available in each one of these traits. Pure intent can be used for faith. Pure intent can be used for grace. Pure intent can be used for truth and wisdom and forgiveness and compassion and mercy and patience and humility and gratitude and joy and abundance and charity. All these traits, you can sit with the feeling of them, each one of them, and with pure intent, allow yourself to expand within yourself these traits that are there. And what does pure intent mean? It means the consciousness of the heart, to be truly, feel truly the depth of what each one presents to you in the moment for all, because all of this is for the best of all. It is not just for you or for the situation in front of you or the person that's in front of you. It is for the best of all, because when these energies are used in such a way, they are implanted on the earth, they are implanted in the space you're at, they implanted in consciousness of the planet, in the magnetism of the planet. It is embraced by all things. That's how powerful each one of our souls is when we recognize the pure intent that we have available to us. Okay, time for a deep breath, Bill.
Um, yeah, Bill needs a deep breath. This has been staggeringly powerful and clear. For me, it has reached inside in a clearer, more impactful way than I ever anticipated. Because it does go back and reinforce things you've said earlier in some respects, but it just has done it in a much more, in the good sense of the word, forceful way. I mean, the force of it, okay, a natural force, okay.
Yeah, it
It
felt
has,
very it felt
yeah,
very forceful when I was
yes,
speaking. Yeah.
yeah, has just absolutely unfolded and given it clarity. This is something I hope our listeners will uh, review again and again as a reminder.
Yeah.
Because I mean, really, this is number 24 on the list.
Yeah.
And well, but they just keep getting more and more incredible,
Yeah.
really, and
Yeah.
more meaningful. I don't know if you want to add any more to it, because I know at one point you were talking about the issue of channeling and how
Yeah.
people may doubt you, and you may lose confidence or not simply have the confidence in being able to do that in a way that is to you credible.
Yeah.
But if you want to add anything or embellish that, because I do want to mention one thing myself. So please go ahead, and then I will.
The channeling that, say, John the Beloved was doing, and some of the Sanskrit writings from Nag Hammadi and the Dead Sea Scrolls that have finally been put into public so people can read some of these gospels and so on. I'm going to suggest, and I'm getting a hit on that for sure, that the apostles, the women of those days, the Essene community, all were in touch with this consciousness. And the words that they spoke, as much as they did come from them personally, were also in conjunction in the participatory way with other energies at bay and higher energies, of course. Um, and some of the words that are spoken in some of those, um, call them gospels, I guess, or writings, are just so beautiful and so pure. And you can notice that for yourself if you're, we talk about pure intent. Um, the purity of words are vibratory pureness, not a defined pureness. And so that vibratory pureness can be felt as you're reading certain manuscripts, for instance. You can feel the words of the author per se, and not just read the words of the author per se. There's a huge difference in that. And some people will say, well, I read that book and it didn't do anything for me. And another person might say, I read that book and my God, I can't put it down and I have to keep going back to it. And I would suggest that that's because they're connecting with the words in a vibratory way as opposed to just reading the words as they are. When we connect with them in a vibratory way, it's touching something inside us that we already are remembering is already there. When it's not, doesn't mean it's not there. It just means we've covered that up. So we can't connect at this point with the words like somebody else can. So it's not a judgment against the person that can't do it. It's just they're not just in a position yet to be able to let themselves remember the truth and the connection of those things. So I would suggest to our viewers, our listeners, that um, none of this can you be perfect in, but we can take various aspects of what was discussed today, for instance, and maybe in some of the other ones too, and just bring a little bit into our life every once in a while and see how it fits in our heart, how it fits in our emotions, how does it fit in how we see things clearly or not. Can we allow ourselves that chance, that choice, and not fear it so much, but understand that you hold all the gifts within you and the abilities to channel and heal and so on. You've just been told that you don't. And I'm going to use this word believe. You believed in them that they were correct and that you weren't good enough. I do not like the word believe. Belief to me means there's two aspects. One you can believe and one you don't believe. When I know something in the heart, I know it. There isn't any question. There isn't this other possibility. When I know something, it is part of me. That's the big difference. So when you channel, if you do for yourself, you might just start channeling by drawing. Anybody that creates music or is an artist or writing books and so on, they say, how did you come about doing this? So I don't know, just came through me. That's channeling. And they trust that what's coming through them is beautiful and perfect just the way it is. That's a pure connection of consciousness. We all have that ability. And so to be able to trust it, to know it's available, takes time. And sometimes we just have to take small steps. By sharing even this today, I'm not expecting any of you to all of a sudden write all this stuff down and say, okay, tomorrow I'm going to do faith, grace, truth, and wisdom. Well, good luck with that. I told somebody once, I don't think I judge very much, they told me. I said, oh, okay. So I tell you what, here's your homework for tomorrow, just tomorrow. I want you to wake up in the morning and have a pad of paper next to you. And I want you to start writing down all the things you judge for the day, because you said that shouldn't take you very long because you don't judge very much. They called me up in an hour and said, I don't have a pad big enough to tell you all the things I've already judged. And so there's this amnesia about looking at ourselves, and we get lost in it because we're told that that's what we should believe in. It's time to stop that. It's time for us to open up our hearts, to expand ourselves into understanding that we are divine essence. We have the ability to have a divine truth come out of us, out of our heart. That's the truth. And however it comes out, it doesn't matter. There is no definition of how it's supposed to be. Well, that's divine truth, but that isn't. Well, who's to say what that is or isn't? You're the only one knows what it feels like. The only one knows if it feels like grace or is it thinking? Which one is it? And then you go about your business of allowing yourself to make that change or shift if it is a definition of some kind instead of being grace. This is how this works. It's never ending. None of this is never ending. It's constant until the day you pass away. Once you pass away, then guess what? You're in all of this in a higher frequency
all of it's available to instantaneously. You don't even have to go through the actions of what we're talking about at all down here. It's already there. It's already available to you to share. Whatever comes to you, you share in that moment. So I guess that would be my last explanation of all that.
Well, I don't want this to be last, but not
Yeah,
least.
right.
And all, okay. Hey, watch this for one upmanship. But I have been stunned this past week by a colleague who has become the editor of a journal of considerable, I'll just call it of deep thought and deep issues over in the Philippines.
Uh-huh.
Inviting me, would I please write something? Would I please send him something, et cetera? Because, I've written so much stuff. So I lived with the word no for a few days. Okay,
Uh-huh.
absolutely don't want to. And then I said, okay, here is the ultimate long shot. And I opened up my book, Opening to Greater Realities, which was all those realities is before I met you, Tomei, um, and read the prologue. And the prologue was a dialogue between me and my spirit partners. It was a channeling, in effect.
Mm-hmm.
And I could not believe the absolutely natural flow of the conversation and the questions and issues and comments that they were making back to me in response to various issues. It was like absolute magic unfolding. And I said to myself, okay, I'm going to send this to her, but surely they are not going to want to publish something that is 4,700 words long or whatever that was. So I sent it to her. Came back right away. Yes, we want to publish this. Just put a few, headlines in it, a few markers, et cetera, about what the sections are, et cetera, a few headings. Okay. So I did that in no time, sent it back. It's like, wow. I mean, there were those moments when I was in that flow because that kind of thing happened several times throughout the book.
Mm-hmm.
And, I guess what I would invite from you is a comment that maybe there's channeling and then there's channeling, and that the channeling of one's inner essence, okay, letting it really speak to you and speak through you is one thing. And the other kind of public display of channeling where you're sitting there and there's an audience there. And I mean, that seems to me to be outside. I'm not in the major leagues of that kind of thing right now. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
There,
yeah. So please comment on that for me.
yeah. There's different kinds of channeling, as you're just saying, and you might say it's all channeling, um, but there are discourses, which it sounds like that's what you were having. Um, there's kind of a back and forth that's going on,
Yes.
um, where as I'm walking my journey now these days, I remember a comment from Lee Carroll, who channels crying, and one of his comments when I went the last time I saw him actually at a workshop, which probably is, I don't know, 5 or 6 years maybe. Um, he made the comment that now crying is just a part of him all the time. So there isn't this moment in a workshop where, okay, I'm going to channel crying now, and he takes a moment and crying comes down. He still kind of does that, but the point is that crying is with him all the time.
Yes.
So that's what happened to me eventually is that it started in discourses with Archangel Michael, showing me how to draw and create mandalas for others. That was a discourse. I'd be drawing and he'd say, no, do this, do that. He'd almost take my hand over in some cases and then start drawing certain things and so on. And it was really remarkable to me and a little bit scary in the beginning, but once you get used to the energy of it and all that, it's different. But that's more of a discourse. So you're going kind of a back and forth kind of scenario. Um, that developed into where, for instance, I was asked by the University of Chicago to come and channel there, and it was more a direct channel that Michael just came in and started answering questions of the people that were in the school in the room at the time, which became incredibly amazing because some of the stuff, there's no way I knew the answers, and Michael would give them an answer, and the people would come up later. So how did you know that? And so there's that kind of a channeling where the information coming through is not something that you know or knew about, but you're being used as a conduit to serve other people. There's also a channeling where things come in and you don't remember anything that was said. And so people are kind of recording this, you might say, or writing it down. And later they'll review it with you, and you kind of sit back in your chair and go, whoa, where did that come from? I'm not a scientist at all. I don't know anything about that at all. And yet the information is true in some regards, let's just say. So that's more of a channeling with just being used truly as a conduit where the information is coming through and you're not remembering anything. And then there's kind of some of the channeling that's been going on in some of these podcasts that we're doing where somebody will come in and just channel the information, which happened today, for instance. I'm talking differently than I did before. And that's kind of how you know there's just a slight difference in, you called it forceful, and that's what it felt like. And that was from the group. It was kind of like there's a group of beings, and that energy together comes through me as one, and it's very strong, really, really very strong. And so it just depends. And what I have been blessed with, I just look at it just amazed at all the different ways I've been able to channel. How many different ways they've used me to be a conduit for me to experience the feeling of each one, how different they are. And that there is no perfect channeling, let's say. There's no, well, that guy's not channeling and that guy is. Well, it's like, don't let people tell you what you are or aren't. That's not up to them. It's up to you to feel it, not believe it, but to feel it within yourself and know that it's true. Because there's no way you could come up with this stuff. It's impossible. And so hopefully that helps. There are some people that channel one way, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But that's all they do. They just channel one way. And crying is kind of that way. Lee is been channeling him for I think like 30 years now or something.
30 years, I think it is.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's been a long time. And it's progressed from very beginning when he was channeling to where he is now. And you might say he's become more comfortable with it because he actually knows all the time that crying's around because he can feel them. So there is that kind of dynamic between the energies in us that we become very comfortable with, and then don't care about what other people think or what they want to say or so on. And so I can feel when I'm channeling, quite frankly, in certain aspects, I can feel that people are not buying what's going on per se. That they're feeling this isn't really happening. This isn't true. And that's just their own doubt. It's just their own ego, and that's okay. They're just not ready to accept it yet, and that's okay. I always believe that if I can just reach one soul to help them in some way, then that's all that matters. The rest of it just doesn't matter. That doesn't mean in that moment it reached a soul. If it's being recorded like what we're doing, it might be 10, 15 years from now that somebody watches this and say, wow, this really resonated with me. It doesn't matter.
Well, when it has universal validity,
yeah,
it doesn't matter when it was recorded.
No, it doesn't. And that's what goes out in the consciousness. That's the whole point, is that we're serving as best we can from a third dimensional reality that's very dense and very hard to be in. and we're doing our best to bring it here, not take it somewhere else, but to actually bring it here and allow people to feel it as best they can. That's what I believe our purpose is anyway, once we figure it out for ourselves. And then it's about sharing it with others in a way that doesn't feel harmful, that's open, and people can, tap into as best they can. So,
Well, thank you.
yeah, of course.
I hate to bring this to a close.
We have to at some point.
Well, that's right. Okay.
You just have to. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
surrender.
Yeah.
It's been absolutely wonderful. For me, it's extraordinarily relevant and timely. I hope for audience members, hello out there. It has been for you as well. I thank you. I know you're going to be beginning a travel starting tomorrow, and I thank you for finding the time today to do this.
Of course.
I just look forward to a return and more of these.
I'll have to let you know my creative abilities when I come back, because my understanding is that Lisa and I are going to be creating bird sanctuaries or bird houses for with the grandkids. We're going to be creating them and making them and painting them, and actually I can't wait. It sounds really exciting, and I can't wait to be with those guys and have some fun. So that's where we're going actually. So it's the first day back. It's going to be a day of creation. So it's going to be fun.
Well, a new big opportunity is unfolding in my life as well. So we'll have a lot more to talk about in your next experience with me.
You good? Okay.
Now, thanks again.
Yep.
Audience, thank you. And this was number 24, and I can hardly wait for number.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank
See you
you
guys.
so
Thank you
much.
very much.
Okay.
Right.
Bye-bye.